Right, we finished episode 2 saying the next thing we're going to do is make the automatic spin or flick roll rates. What this is that to save me having to flick a switch to get a particularly high rate of elevator, or indeed any other control, for doing flick rolls or spins, I want it to go into that rate when I pull full up or down elevator and full rudder, because the only time I'm going to be moving full rudder and full elevator is if I want to do a flick or a spin. So we'll set up a logic switch to recognize that. The only snag is where will we apply it? Because this model has triple rates. It doesn't matter whether it's dual or triple rates. You'll be assigning that physical switch in the dual rate switch screen. So we can't assign the logic switch to switch the rates. And I want to use flight modes for normal takeoff and landing flap with the trims there. We could use a flight mode to switch it, but then you've got to trim a flight mode and a normal flight mode, and blah, blah, blah. Just, yeah. So what I'm going to do is a little neat trick. I'm going to basically set the logic switch to activate a mixer that mixes elevator back to itself at minus 25 or 30 or 10%, some percentage, that will reduce in normal flying, will reduce the elevator travel down to whatever value I'm going to be using for the elevator high rate. And then as you pull the sticks, the switches come off, so the mix comes off and the elevator loses that minus mix and jumps to the maximum travel allowed. So let's see how we do that. It'll all come clear, I'm sure, as you see it in action. So we go into our logical switches. Next one is logic switch 3. We'll call it spin rate. Okay, enable that. Come down. Control 1 will be the rudder. Right, now what we want is the rudder switching on at either end. At the moment it's switching on at that end. Reversing it won't work, because what would happen is that the two X boxes here become ticks and that one becomes an X. However, if we cycle round the screens, there we go. We've got on in the middle and off at either end. If we just reverse that, we get on at either end and off in the middle. Is that the one we want? Have a quick think. We want to recognize only when we get to the end and the end. Yep, that's okay. So we'll accept that one. Control 2 will be the elevator. Same thing again. So I'll cycle round the possible screens until we get there. Reverse that. It only comes on at the ends. Say OK to that. And the condition will be and. What we actually want is a not and, but as I've shown in one of my previous videos, you only get and gates and or gates, or switches I should say, but you can invert them when they input into something else, which in effect makes it a not and gate. So I'll just prove it. Pull up elevator, full down elevator doesn't switch it on, full rudder doesn't switch it on, but if I hold full rudder and move to full up, there we go, on, and full down, there we go, on. Say OK to that. OK. And now what I'm going to do is create a mixer. So fine tuning, free mixes, add from the elevator back to itself. And you can, if you want, you can do this with the rudder and the ailerons as well. Doesn't matter, I'm just going to do it for the elevator. Going to advanced, no value yet. And the switch is going to be logic switch 3, the spin rate, but this is where we not and it. I'm not moving the sticks at the moment, they're at the center, so I want this mixer that's reducing the travel to be on, so I'll reverse it. And if I move full elevator, doesn't switch it off, move full rudder, doesn't switch it off, but full rudder and full elevator in all possible directions switches off this negative mix. Okie doke. And we'll come back to setting the actual value once we've switched on the aircraft. Okay. I'm just looking through my items of things I need to tell you about. Mixing three rates. Okay. Yep. So I'm just making a note I need to set. Yeah, in fact, no, I don't. Yes, I do. Right. Okay. Next, we want an aerobatic caller to call out our sequence of maneuvers. And so I have made a series of WAV files with what was from a few years ago anyway, it might have changed now, the UK Aerobatics Association's Clubman schedule, which is this sort of basic schedule. Whilst I would love to be a top aerobatic pilot, I recognise my limitations and I do it more for fun. So Clubman schedule is fine for me. You can make all of them up if you want, just assign them to different models. Here we go. Let's get it to call them out for me. I will go into Applications, Audio Player. The files are in the audio, for me, the English language directory. And I will I'm just thinking, what am I doing for a moment? Club, there we go. Club 1.
2 inside loops, a momentum, 1 outside loop.
Stop you there. Because I'm pressing wrong. Oh, I really need to have more espresso. You see that? Press the tools button. There we go. Select a file. I did tell you it's not scripted, it's not rehearsed, so you get to see that you have to find your way around sometimes. Club1.wav. Play next. Right, this is where I'll set a switch to force it to play the next one. So I'm going to use my spring-loaded switch here, push it away from me, like that. Say OK. And now, what it will do is, a quick flick of the switch will play that file. Next quick click of the switch will play the next one in sequence, and so it'll just go on in sequence right to the end of all your files. But obviously when you get to the end of your aerobatic sequence, you'll know, especially since I've made a little file that tells you you're at the end. And if you want to reset it, it'll reset itself when you switch the transmitter off and on. But if you need to reset it in the same session, just a long hold down of the switch until it reads the first file again and you're away. So you don't want continue playback, because once you've flicked it once, it'll just set off and go. So here we go. We've taken off, ready for the first maneuver, and
2 inside loops.
And then
a momentum. 1 outside loop. Split S. Cuban 8 no rolls. Stall turn. Slow roll. Half square loop, half roll on exit. Spin 2 turns. Clubman sequence is finished. Well done.
There we go. So happy with that. I can strike this one off their list of things to be done. Okay. Now we're going to switch the model on because we need to start actually trimming things. So I'm going to make sure
throttle lock is on.
Good, and sticks at 0. Now, of course, you would be extra safe and you would remove the wires to the motor, wouldn't you? Yeah. But I want, first of all, to prove that it works. So here we go. Here's this receiver, yes. Okay, let's just double check it. Take a firm hold of the model. Throttle lock is on. Does the throttle have any effect? No. Throttle is fully off. Throttle lock is off.
Warning. Throttle lock is off.
And with throttle stick back, it should now activate. Yeah, it's a very rough startup, always has been. I'll put throttle lock on again.
Throttle lock is on.
Check, didn't work. I'll leave the throttle partly open now. Throttle lock off.
Warning. Throttle lock is off.
Lovely. Proves that it works. Stick now, throttle stick fully back. It should engage, and there we are.
Throttle lock is on.
And I will remove one of those. I wonder if that would still work.
Warning. Throttle lock is off.
Yeah. Okay. So check the throttle lock. Now we can check our servo directions. And so if we go into model, servo setup, I know that throttle is in the correct direction. We'll come down here. To move along servos, you can use this button. And it's rather handy because you can stay in an active field and just move along doing them. So here's aileron 1, which you should have plugged into your left aileron. And let's see. No, that's going the wrong way, so I will reverse that. That's going the right way. And now, I don't need to come out of that, scroll all the way up, go to the next servo, move along, scroll all the way down. I just need to press the right button. See, we're in aileron 1, channel 2. Press this button, flap 1, channel 3. Do I need to reverse the flap? Well, no. Remember, I removed the control from it because we'll be doing that in flight modes. Okay, let's move along. Aileron 2, the right-hand one. Is that moving the correct way? No. So in reverse, I can still just turn that. See, I'm not having to reactivate the field and come out of it. Who's next? Elevator. That needs reversing. So just turn the dial. That's done. Who's next? Rudder. Oh, that one is going the right way. Who's next? The gear. Let's try that. Yep, that's going the right way. And steering. Nose wheel steering. Nope, that's going the wrong way, so I can reverse that. And I think that's it. Yep, so that's all our servo directions set. Lovely. Score that one off. Right, now set our 3 rates in expo, but we want to set the effect of that mixer. So we'll come back to fine tuning, free mixes, edit that. Come down, what value do we want? It's going to be a negative value because we're removing travel. Yeah? Okay. This is where I'm going to need 3 hands. Not very easy. Anyway. There is our meter. And the mixer is not on at the moment. Sorry, the negative mix is on at the moment. And therefore, if I was to hold full up elevator, and now I'll move full rudder in. Yeah, the reason it's not having any effect is, of course, I've only put in a couple of % at the moment. So what I need to do is use a percentage here whilst the mixer is on that turns the travel down to the value suggested by Hanno Pretner, which is, looking at my chart, 16 degrees up. Okay, have a look at that, and it's showing about 20 degrees up. So what I'm going to do is turn that down. Try there. What did I say we're looking for? 16 degrees up. Still a bit too much. Try 15. Of course, if I wasn't having to hold the camera, I could just watch hold the there's 16, I think. Yep. I could just hold the stick in position whilst swinging the thing. Now then, okay. At the moment, it's mixing. The mixer is on from the logic switch, and it's mixing 15% back into the elevator at a minus value. In other words, it's reducing its travel. If I move the elevator the mixer stays on. If I move the rudder, the mixer stays on. If I move both of them to their ends of travel, the mixer comes off. So it stops putting that minus 15 in. And the result, if I can get everything right, is there's full up elevator, yeah? But if I now move full rudder as well, there's a bit more travel. 15 degrees, yeah, 20 degrees. Not a lot, but see, I've already detuned the linkages on this model a long way to soften it to my own preferences. But if you were starting from scratch, you could, get more exaggerated travels. Okay, so we're happy that the automatic spin mode is working, and at the moment, when this is working, we've now got the elevator high rate. So let's go and look at our dual rates and expos and get them set up. Right, I'm looking at my table here. I rewrote it down by hand because the table was in sort of German English and not easy to follow. And some of it's still a bit bizarre. It gives degrees of travel for the ailerons up and down, and then has another box telling you how much differential to use. But since you've already got these degrees of travel up and down, isn't that the differential if you want to set them separately? So what I'm going to do is simply set in the differential. I looked at the degrees of travel up and down across high, medium and low aileron, and basically the down travel is 70% of the up travel. So that would actually be the first thing that we do. Go into aileron differential and set the down travel to 70%. Okay, so now on the way down, the aileron will only go down 70% of the way it's going up. I must admit I was a bit puzzled that they used so much differential on a pattern aerobatic model. Still, Hanno knows what he's doing. I don't bother myself. I think if the aileron differential made much effect at all, it wouldn't be as much as the bad effect of my flying, so it's not going to help me a lot. If I was really good, I might notice the difference. Enough of that. Back to our dual rate and expo. Okay, and we need to assign the switch for this. So we'll go in first to ailerons. The switch will be this.
Rates are low.
Switch here.
Rates are medium.
Say OK to that. Come up here. We'll put it.
Rates are high.
Okay, high rate aileron was to be 17 up with 45% expo. So I will look over at. I shall push the control. And can I get 17 up? Oh gosh, no. I can only get 10 degrees of up travel. I guess because I've set the linkages to much lower travels, so I'm not going to reset them. I'll just accept the 10 for these purposes, and I'll show you what else did he want. He wanted expo 45%. So there we go. And then we move to
rates are medium.
Position 2, 13 degrees up. I think we've got about 12 there. We'll accept it the same, but in this position he wanted 40% of expo. And finally, low rate 12 up. It's pretty much what I've got anyway. But just for the purposes of showing you this.
Rates are low. Rates are high.
100,
rates are medium. Rates are low.
Yeah, okay, doke. So in low rate, I'll just take it down a little bit. I'll take it down to 80. And he wanted 33% differential. And simply for the purpose of showing you a difference, I'll take that to 90. So we got,
Rates are high.
I want that one to be 100. Okay, 100,
Rates are
90.
Rates are low.
What is going on?
Rates are high.
Position 1,
Rates are
position 2,
Rates are
position
low.
1.
Rates are high.
I think this is being interpreted as a...
Rates are medium.
Needed to be interpreted as a
Rates are low. Rates are
proportional
high.
switch. Yep. Yeah, the system was misinterpreting the switch. Position 1, position 2, position,
low.
that's better.
Rates are high.
It was giving us position 1, 2, 1. So position 1 was 100% and 45%.
Rates are
2,
medium.
90 and 40. And
Rates are
position
low.
3 should be 80% and 33% expo. There we go. So 80,
Rates are medium.
90,
Rates are high.
100. There we are. There's our aileron rate switches set. Okay, to that one. Elevator. Now, remember, with the mixer on, it's already set the elevator travel to what we need. So come down, set our switch.
Rates are medium.
Make sure it's proportional. Okay, so check we got
Rates are
1,
high. Rates
2,
are medium.
3.
Rates are low.
I'll switch that off just for a second, turn the volume off. And so our high rate position will be 100% and wanted 35% expo. Ah, div, come on. Into that one, it wanted 12 up. So now I shall pull full up elevator, read off the dial. That's about 16. So now I can come down. Yeah, that's 12 degrees and 26% expo. And finally, low rate. What do we want there? 10. So the expo for this was 10%. And the rate is 10 degrees. So I shall look at the dial over there. Just turn that down till I've got 10 degrees of travel. And there we are. So there should be 3 elevator positions all set. It also has suggested travels for the rudder, but I'm quite happy to leave the rudder traveling at the maximum, to be honest. But again, you just set them up the rates the same way if you wish. Now, it's got, interesting thing here, different up and down rates. Okie doke. I should have looked at that, shouldn't I? So go back, we're in position 1. Remove the symmetry. If I move the stick, the highlighter jumps to where the stick is. So I've got 100 there, but that gives me 16 up. Yes, but Hanno wants 22 down. So I'm going to need to turn that one up a little bit. There we go. I think due to uneven linkages, it's moving unequally anyway. Medium was 12 up. Symmetry is still off. Go to the down. You wanted 18 down. So if I read off the dial, there we go, 18 down. And for this one, it was 10 up, which we've got. But wants 15 down. Okie doke. So there we go. We've set 3 rates of elevator travels with asymmetric up and down travels in that. That, I think, completes setting up our rates and expo. Yep, say OK to that. Next, where are we? 25 minutes. Let's take a break there and we'll come back for episode 3, starting to set up all the various mixers.